Hey, hey, Nikki Sanders here with Nikki Sanders Leadership Consulting. Welcome to another More Than Social Work with Nikki Sanders video. And since we are still in May, we are going to talk about poverty. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and poverty is bad for your mental health. It's bad for your mental health, and it's bad for your client's mental health. And we have this way of glorifying poverty right here in the United States and oftentimes around the world. But when we think about the American dream, right, people who started from nothing and pulled themselves up from their bootstraps, self-made millionaires, right? So we talk about this idea that I got it out the mud, right? So we celebrate these rags to riches stories, and that's great. But in doing so, we often glorify the poverty, and people who didn't come from that feel slighted in some ways. And I'm not saying that like, oh, you should feel bad. I'm saying I have definitely seen and witnessed people being criticized because they didn't have to start from the bottom and work their way up. But poverty in itself, the financial state of poverty, being without basic needs, basic necessities, the things that your family needs: food, clothing, shelter, safe food, clothing, shelter, clean air, clean water, right? Poverty as a financial state is harmful to your mental health. Now, I'm not talking about, people who have a poverty mentality, right? And poverty mindset versus abundance mindset. I'm not talking about a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset that keeps people stuck or in poverty. I'm not talking about poverty being someone's responsibility because they're in poverty, because they're passing over opportunities regularly. People have turned poor into that acronym, passing over opportunities regularly, or that a job means that you're just over broke. And so you should be an entrepreneur and self made, even though there are millions and millions of people who are making millions of dollars in their jobs. So we have this way of glorifying poverty in a way that puts blame on people who live in poverty for not getting themselves out of poverty. That includes the field of social work, which also glorifies poverty. You've heard it before. We're in it for the outcome, not the income. If you're going into this field, you should go into this field because you want to make a difference, not because you want to get paid. Don't go into social work if you want to make money. If all you care about is money, you're in the wrong field. I am talking about the financial state of poverty and financial struggle is not good for your mental health. And that shows up in so many ways. But and we can do the research, right? I can link us with some articles. We can do the research. And I really want you to go back and do research, because there's research that shows how poverty and living in poverty impacts your psyche as well as who you are on a cellular level, right? It gets into and changes, right, your ability, that state of fear, of panic, of being without, feeling like you have to survive and not having the ability to thrive and live in hope and plan is bad for your mental health. You know what else is bad for your mental health? Not having health care, or not having quality health care, not having access to quality food, not having access to clean water and clean air because you're living next to some toxic manufacturing plant. Poverty is bad for your mental health. If you are in a job where you don't have health coverage, or you don't have the ability to take off and get vacation leave or sick leave, your body never gets to rest. You're always in a constant state of go and panic. You're not able to sit down and have a quality meal during your lunch day. You're not able to sleep because you're constantly working from one place to the other or going from job to job. Or you live in a community that is plagued by crime and violence, and you are unable to go outside and get fresh air, or you don't sleep through the night because you hear bullets and you're being awakened by gunshots. Poverty is bad for your mental health. Being afraid for your life, which many people who live in poverty are, is bad for your mental health. But let's take this a step further. So when we think about social workers and we think about our clients, we know that our clients are not in the best states, oftentimes, not all, and not all social work clients are poor either. So let me clarify that. But we know that if you are living in survival mode, it is hard to thrive. It's hard to think ahead. It's hard to make wise decisions. You're thinking about the now instead of the 5 years from now because you're living in the moment because you don't know what's going to happen 5 years from now. So you have to focus on today. So that future planning is not happening and it's stressful. It's anxiety producing. It wears down your mind and your body because poverty is bad for your mental health. And so is glorifying poverty. And we glorify poverty as a nation, right? We celebrate, I got it out the mud, or she pulled herself up by her bootstraps, or, I achieved the American dream and I came here with nothing, right? So we glorify poverty in that way because it's oftentimes not the struggle and the overcoming and the motivation and the determination that we celebrate. It's the poverty in many times that we are glorifying because it makes us tough. It makes us who we are. What doesn't kill you is going to make you stronger, but it is killing us. Poverty is killing us in so many ways because it is bad for your mental health. And you know how else poverty is bad for your mental health, dear social worker? Struggling financially after paying all that money for your degree and being told that you should go into social work because you want to make a difference, not because you want to make money. Being told that you need to be in it for the outcome and not for the income. Being told that if you're concerned about, your wealth building, that you should have chosen another profession. And schools of social work, internship supervisors, social work educators, nonprofit organizations all perpetuate that and glorifying poverty. You are not a better social worker because you're struggling financially. In fact, I would argue that although you may have a different kind of empathy because you can identify with financial struggle, that financial struggle is preventing you from being as innovative, as creative, as engaged as you could be, because in the back of your mind, you're worried about your own family or your own car or your own house. If you aren't safe and you don't feel safe mentally, physically, emotionally, psychologically, financially, how are you the best social worker that you can be? Because poverty is bad for your mental health. It is bad for our mental health. So while we blame people and say, they made that terrible decision, or why are they splurging on this thing or that thing, you have poverty changes your thought process and your thinking. We think differently. We're out of those financial situations that cause anxiety and stress. And we have, the one of the largest causes for divorce, or the most frequent, I guess, causes of divorce is financial struggle, strain, arguments, disagreements, because poverty is bad for your mental health. It's bad for your job. It's bad for your mental health. It is, if you don't have access to the health care that you need, if you don't have access to the mental health care that you need, if you don't have access to clean air and water, I am literally sitting outside. Welcome to my office for today. I am sitting outside feeling very safe talking to you. Poverty is bad for your mental health. And let's stop glorifying poverty and let's stop villainizing people who live in poverty. So I unfollowed a social media post, something about millionaires. I don't even remember what it was and when I started following it. But they posted Dr. Phil, which I had issues with Dr. Phil long before today. He, basically said that all of your money in taxes And the reason that there's kind of financial struggle in this country among the average American in the middle class is because we're funding these social programs, and that it is, you're better off not going to work and struggling financially. Just go to one of these entitlement programs. We call them entitlement programs. And not only is it wrong and divisive and short sighted, it's actually mean, right? It is, again, we villainize people for being in poverty. So if everybody that you know is cheating the system, I suggest you change your circle, because I don't know people who are just at home chilling and cheating the system. If everybody that you know is on some kind of entitlement program and is not going to work just because they don't want to work, you need to change your circle, because that's not my experience. The truth is, corporate welfare is a thing. So while they're talking about all these social programs and how much money they cost, there are people who need the help and need the support, because we know that not every corporation pays livable wages, right? So it's not about just going to college. Can we pay people livable wages? And then they don't have to live in poverty because you paid them to be able to afford to live a quality life. So corporations getting bailed out, right? Um, Getting tax breaks for from cities to come to their area. The fact that the taxpayers are mostly employees, and the wealthy and business owners pay less kind of per capita in taxes than the average American, right? We've heard Warren Buffett talk about his secretary pays more in taxes than he does. So taking all of those things into account, this is why I say y'all need to go back to ninth grade civics. Anyway, so taking those things into account. So it's not about these entitlement programs that are not entitlement programs. No one is just passing out free money. And of course, with every system, college included, there are people who milk the system. There are people who fall through the cracks. There are people who have horrible intentions. There are people who are cheaters, right? But that happens with everything. But we only villainize it when it comes to poor people. So white collar crimes, right? People who are stealing millions of money or doing these white collar crimes versus, and oftentimes, embezzlement, for example, stealing money from millions and millions of people, but you get less time than someone who is doing a lower level crime. Again, because poverty is bad for your mental health. Because if you end up in jail and you don't have the money for a lawyer, even if you get blamed for something that you didn't do, because we also know that a lot of poor people end up in jail and they're innocent. So again, poverty is bad for your mental health. And then you feel judged. You have all of these people judging you. There are two articles, actually, they're not articles. One is an article and one is a chapter in a book that I use in my class. Both of them I've used in my sociology and human relations classes. I'm going to find them because I haven't taught those classes in a couple of years. I want to find them. But one of them talks about the benefits of poverty, because follow the money trail. Somebody benefits from poverty, always, always. Someone is benefiting. Otherwise, we wouldn't have poor people, right? And of course, I'm simplifying it. But again, think about it. I'm giving you the foundation for you to go back and do your research. So one of the things that is coming to top of mind is we have an active military because of poverty. Because how many people join the military willingly because they don't have other options after high school? So if everybody had different options after high school, would they willingly go to the military? Or they go to the military to get job training, or they go to the military so they can get, housing, or they can get health care, or their family can get housing and health care, or so they can get their higher education paid for. Think about it. If people weren't in poverty, how many of those people who join the military willingly would be joining the military willingly? And the other is an article about things that poor people have to worry about that rich people never do. And one of them that I can think of right now off the top of my head and I'm not sure that this is in the article, it's just what's coming to me right now, is how to get back and forth to work, right? If you get a job and you're not living in poverty, one, you can wait the 2 weeks before you get your first paycheck. Two, you don't have to worry about, can you get back and forth to work? Can I even keep this job? Can I start this job? Can I get back and forth to work? Or do I need to stretch my gas, right? Or get money to ride the bus? Because I've had clients who have had to quit their jobs because they couldn't afford to get to work. So again, May is National Mental Health Awareness Month. May is Women's Health Awareness Month, and we know that more women live in poverty than men. So poverty is bad for your mental health. Poverty is also bad for women's physical health, our overall health. Lack of health care, not being able to take off work and go to the doctor, ignoring your symptoms, working yourself half to death. Poverty is bad. It's bad all the way around, individually and collectively. I will send you the information for the articles, but I want you to just think about this, dear social worker, as you're telling yourself what kind of job you want to apply for. So remember, I'm not talking about abundance mindset versus growth mindset. I'm talking about the state of financial struggle and poverty. Let's stop glorifying poverty because social workers do not take a vow of poverty. And let's figure out how we together, starting in our schools of social work with our social work organizations like NASW, paying people individually, how do we get the social work profession out of this list of professions that does not pay well, because poverty doesn't pay well. This is mentally, physically, emotionally, or financially. This is Nikki Sanders with Nikki Sanders Leadership Consulting. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Nikki Sanders CDO, LinkedIn, and Nikki Sanders MSW. Please subscribe and share to this YouTube channel and let me know your thoughts. And I'll see you again for our next video. Bye.